Al Ray with the USGS National Geospatial Program, and this is the Hydrography Advisory Call. Today we have Rob Dollison and Sergio Rodriguez, who will be talking to us about web services that we have for hydrography data. And so Rob's going to start. Rob, you want to just go ahead and introduce yourself
Sure.
and what role you have and get started.
Thanks, Al. Yeah, my name's Rob Dollison, and I'm out of our USGS headquarters in Reston, and my role is delivering our national map data through data download and services, as well as the applications to help us do that. I'm looking forward today to being able to share with you just some of the applications and services we have available, and we'll dive deeper into some of the styling things you can take advantage of on the vector services that NHD and WBD offer. I'll do a pretty quick overview of some of the products, services, things that we offer, but we'll be glad to dive in further into any one of those as questions come up. I think we'll have plenty of time to address questions, so I may cover some more at a high level, but later on, if you want me to dive further into one or two, a couple of them, I'll be glad to. And I'll be passing it off to Sergio after some introductory overviews, and he will dive into the how to do things in AGOL and ARC with these web services. I'm really glad you got him available to assist me with this. It's great. I'm trying to see what, okay, here we go. So these are some of the things we'll be covering. I'll just dive in a little bit into overview. So, and this, I'll probably go to show you, but this is basically our page for data delivery and access to our services. And let me do a quick, just go to that page. I think it's there to do that. So we've grouped things. We have some of our applications featured here at the top, and we've grouped things about going to, if you're trying to get topo maps or GIS data, as well as applications and services. And this is where we'll spend more time today on our services. So just hopefully some of you are mostly familiar with some of these. This is our data download application where we can go download the GIS data, and that's its primary focus. We have a viewer for visualizing and work with our data through web services, and to be able to mash up some of your own data with if you need to. This is a new one you may not be aware of. It's specifically focused on, it's called LiDAR Explorer. It's more focused on elevation and LiDAR data. And the nice thing with this application, you can actually go in and visualize the LiDAR data before you decide to download it. So it's really optimized to help work with point cloud and DEM data. And we have a demonstration viewer for our elevation service. These services dynamic service you can pull into ArcGIS or others, but this demonstration viewer lets you go in and look at some of the templates. We have standard, you can get a variety. This is the aspect, but you can have slope, different hill shades. It can all dynamically be generated and used in your application. And last, and hopefully folks are pretty aware of the topo view, which is an application that lets you go back and search our historical map collection. There's an effort we worked with our geology program on this application. So I just wanted to at least introduce you to this page and some of the ways you can get to things from the downloader. We'll be spending more on the applications and services piece. And the service list is a key area. You can get to it through the URL or through this web page that we'll be doing. So I'll go back to the slides a little bit, I think. Well, maybe now. I'll stay here on the service list for a minute since we're here. So if I launch the service list, which I had earlier, you can see we have a variety, almost 50 services, web services available. So cache-based maps, as well as index services, and theme. So under these, and these are the theme overlays, which these themes are the themes we primarily are responsible for through the national map. We have that elevation service I showed, just a brief glimpse of that application. But contours, these should all look pretty familiar. Some NAPE services, these are all dynamic services. And here's the hydrography data set service, as well as the new NHD plus high res service. Al, while I'm here, do you want to talk a little about it? We can do it later.
Yeah, we could talk about the NHD plus service a little bit. Sure.
This is a new one. Why don't we go ahead and I have it up in ArcMap here, and I'll let you talk about that a little bit.
Okay.
Maybe got to it sooner than you expected, but.
Yeah. No, that's cool. Actually, could you change the base map maybe to like the dark gray?
Yes.
That'll make it a little easier to see what we have here.
Yeah. Yep.
Right. So the NHD plus, it includes all the hydro features, from the NHD, as well as the WBD watershed boundaries. But it also has additional features like the catchment areas, which are the pink ones that you're seeing there. So that's the area that drains to each segment in the stream network, essentially. And that's derived from the elevation model. Right now, NHD Plus is all done from the 10-meter elevation DEMs. If you, Rob, can you click on one of the flow lines and bring up the pop-up? You might have to enable a pop-up in your view.
Yeah, that might be.
So if you go to the content tab,
yeah, come down here and open it up.
Yeah.
Find the flow lines.
It's
we want the network flow line.
Yeah, network flow line. Yeah. So you need to enable the pop-up there.
Okay.
You got to say modify map up on the upper right of, all the way up in the upper right of the window.
Oh yeah, yep. There we go.
Say you want to modify the map.
Yep. It's been a little bit since I've been playing in here, and we'll go up to flow line, and it should be there. All right, enable pop.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. So if you just click on one of those, so you'll see the pop-up come up with all the attributes. Now, what we've done with this data set and with this service is we've added a whole bunch of attributes. So we've joined the tables, because it's difficult to do joins in a web environment. So we've preloaded or pre-joined those tables. So the value added attribute table, the flow estimate tables are all already joined in here. So if you scroll down through, you'll see lots and lots of attributes. So we have all these value added attributes that are part of the NHD Plus. There are flow estimates down. There's some of those flow estimates there. So every flow line has these flow estimates from the EROM method, the enhanced runoff method, little model that is run as part of the NHD Plus high res. So it makes it really easy to find all of this information. If you're only interested in some of those attributes, it's easy enough to customize the attribute display in a pop-up here in ArcGIS Online, if you're using it. So let's say you were just interested in the total drainage area for those. You could go in, Rob, if you want to do that, you can hit that and customize, configure the pop-up, right?
Yep.
And you can hit the configure attributes there, right under that box where you are.
Oh yeah. Okay.
And you can just turn off all of them.
Just go display them. Yep.
And then go down, let's see. Sometimes it's hard to find them. We'll just pick one.
Because we have such a wide variety, right?
Yeah. There we go.
Oops.
Drainage.
Did I miss it?
Yeah, we scrolled past it. It doesn't matter. We'll just click one of those. Like
drainage area, right?
Yeah, that's it.
Whoops. Where'd it go? I just clicked it on. It disappeared.
Jumped away from you there.
Yeah.
But that's how you would do it, is just, you know, choose the attributes that you want to see in that pop-up.
There it is. And I'll say, okay. And you can rename them as well, right? You can get rid of the.
That's right. You can do lots of customizing here. You need to click the little OK down in the lower left corner to update that. And now if you hit that, then we're only seeing just that thing that we wanted to see, which is, says that's 3 square kilometers drainage area for that stream. So that's a real quick overview of what's there for the NHD Plus high res. We have this now. We've completed almost all of CONUS, the Conterminous US, so it's almost all in there. Some of the last data sets that we're loading from the Great Lakes region might not be in this service yet. There may be a few other stragglers that haven't made it into the service yet, because there's some delay between when we actually post the data sets out on our stage products to when it gets loaded in the database that's behind the service. But it should be, at least very soon, we should have all of CONUS in there, plus Hawaii, Puerto Rico, and several of the territorial islands out in the Pacific. And there are a few places in Alaska, a few HUCs, a few hydrologic units in Alaska that we've done. So kind of a big milestone that we're getting through CONUS now. And from now on, we'll be focusing efforts on Alaska, as well as going back and updating and fixing problems in the NHD Plus high res. So that's that. That makes it really easy to find all these attributes very, very fast.
Thanks, Al. And it's really a lot of detailed data in the high res. It's really, the service is designed to work at larger scales. It doesn't turn on until you've zoomed in quite a bit, because there's quite a bit of information there to try to work with. Right.
Yeah, that's another good point, Rob. Another thing you can do here is you can add a service, which Rob can show you on the service list.
Yeah.
That's called our the tiled cache service for hydro.
Oh yeah.
And
that
way, when you're zoomed out, you can still see, you'll still see a map of the hydrography.
So we'll come up to our base maps, and you'll see the hydrography tile cache, which is designed to be fast for visualization. And I can go ahead and grab the URL. We'll go into ArcMap. We'll add a service from the web. Paste it on in and add a layer. And then as I zoom out, as the high res goes away, you're still able to use this to navigate and work with as well. But as we zoom in, we should see the high res starting to draw. See the WBD.
Yep, there we get it. That's That's the high res NHD Plus. Yep.
All right.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah,
I'll turn it back to you, Rob.
Yeah, I'll go back to a little bit of the presentation. I tend to do more of it directly from the like doing from live more than the PowerPoints, but we'll go through some of these a little bit. Map services list that I showed you, the URLs there highlighted, and we have a variety of services, even some coverage services for that elevation, which is a whole different presentation. I think Jason might have given one of taking advantage of the elevation coverage service, where you can go in and even do some flow analysis on the raster from the service. But that's probably a more detailed presentation than we would get into here, but we have a variety of service here, some which we feature from other agencies as well. But, okay, so a quick view of some of these are just quick images of the 5 or actually 6 different base maps we offer, and one is even a blank base map, so you can have something completely blank of just boundaries of the US that helps you show your science data or others. But we have a topo, a hydrography cache we just looked at, an imagery only, as well as an imagery topo base map, all available for, and a shaded relief available for your use. These index services are important pieces to look at, where, in this case, the topo availability index on the upper right lets you see the vintage of the data, where we're building maps now and what vintage of the map it is available. But it's especially important in where we haven't covered the whole country yet. And if you look down at the elevation index, you can see some of those darker colors or the higher resolution 1 meter data that we have, but enables you to look at what product might be available over your area. And I think we have plans to try to offer one more for index service for NHD Plus in the future here to help with knowing whether you're working, whether their beta is available or the next generation product over an area. And this is a little bit showing some contour. We'll go into this further. These services are have dynamic styling enabled, so you can change a variety of labels or colors with those services. I showed briefly the National Map Downloader, which is mostly about getting to the actual GIS data products. And this is one thing I want to make sure to let you know about. We have a way to subscribe. So if you're using one of our services in an application you're building, I highly suggest subscribing to this little SNS message. It's a lot like a listserv, right? It lets us we try to send out notices if we're going to make a change, something that could break your application. Sometimes we have to move a service, or we're adding layers, like adding topobathy into the elevation service might change the layer numbering and order, and this is the way we can communicate out with you ahead of time, so that you know your application can be up and working before we break it or something. So I just want to make sure to make this link is also available on that services and application page. All right, we talked a little bit about this demonstration viewer. I wasn't going to demo it now. We can later if there are questions. People want to dive into this, but we're having a little more focus on hydro today. Just showing that service. This is a slope. This slope view enabled. It's just in our viewer with the hydrography data set. So you can call this dynamic service up in any old application or directly into your Arc Online or even QGIS GIS. Just a little bit, Al touched on some of the refresh about when, for example, new data might be showing up in the service. So our cache-based maps, they take quite a bit to build. They're more built on a biannual or every twice a year. The imagery service is at least yearly, sometimes twice a year, depends on our NAEP cycle and when we're doing it. But most of these, like the imagery cache, the hydro cache, you would see get updated twice a year. Whereas our index services are pretty continuous. As a new product becomes available, they usually show up in the next day within that index. And these other services, our vector services, we try to refresh quarterly. So data sets, changes in hydrography in some of our stage products might get there a little sooner, but they will certainly be reflected in the service on a quarterly basis. All right, so I think this part is some that Sergio is going to start going into. Sergio, you want to take over from here?
Hey, Rob. Sure. Thanks. Hi, everyone. My name is Sergio Rodriguez. I work with Rob at the National Geospatial Program, helping out with delivery. So we'll go over some dynamic styling for the web services now. If you saw there were a couple overlay themes on the previous slide that had little asterisks next to them, and those layers with the asterisks are dynamically enabled, so you can go in there and change. Yep, as you can see right there, some of the 3-depth elevation, the contours, GNIS, and the NHD and WBD, which are the ones we'll be focusing on today. And so you might be asking, what is this new function? This function is more of a web function, so it doesn't work very well in applications such as QGIS or ArcMap, just because those are heavily reliant on local data. And so what this dynamic styling service allows you to do is it allows you to change the labeling, and it also allows you to change the symbology, and it also gives you access to the attributes, and helps you and allows you to identify those attributes within each layer. Rob, if you don't mind going to the next slide. And here is a brief overview of how you can use the services. As I mentioned earlier, it's really geared towards ArcGIS Online and ArcPro, just because those are web functions that can take advantage of that allows you to change that symbology and that labeling. And yeah, and there's just a little bit of caveats that we'll go over for ArcGIS Pro. Rob, if you could go to the next slide, please. And this is just a real quick view. On the left side here, we see the NHD web service, just as it would come with whether it is a web service or the dynamic service, as we see here. And on the right is I just really quickly changed some symbology, trying to emphasize some inundation areas and some of the canals in the area. And so now we can actually go into it, into the presentation here. Let me
the demo
share
here.
my
I'll
slide.
stop sharing.
Okay, let's see. Hopefully everyone is able to see it. See my screen now? Should be seeing the service endpoints.
Coming through fine.
Okay, great. And so just as Rob showed earlier, I'll go here into the NHD, and I'll just copy that that REST service. And we'll start in ArcGIS Online. I will go in here, and I've opened up a map, and I will add a layer from the web. And here I will paste that NHD web service. And so in here, if I would like, I can choose to add NHD Plus, as we saw earlier, and the WBD. It's whichever one you would prefer. I already have NHD loaded, so I'll just go ahead and turn that layer on. Let's see if it works. Okay, there we go. And so the nice thing about the service is that now we can go in here and we can expand the service, and we can go ahead and, as Al mentioned earlier, we can enable our pop-ups here. And so if we want to identify anything now, it should pop up. Okay, let's see. I think I enabled the wrong one, but it should be showing up. Okay, sorry for the delay. I guess my internet's a little slow.
We believe you.
Let me move that out of the way. But yeah, so you can, just as Al mentioned, you can configure the pop-ups too, in case you you really just want the length of that feature, or anything you require. There it is. Okay, and then just to build off of what Al said, you can also go in here and, let's say, for example, I wanted to change the name of this, the style of this lake. So I can go here into our area. Oops.
No,
and I can go ahead and change. I'm sorry?
You get beyond water body instead of.
Oh, okay. Oh, sorry. Yeah. No, it would just go in here. And although so the issue with ArcGIS Online is that it has limited font styles. So you can leave it as it is right there, and it will stay at this font. But if you wanted to change it, you would have to turn it on to Arial. But as you can see, we can change the color, the font size, just to anything, and the halo as well. You can turn off the halo if you'd like. And as long as you save your map, it should load the service just as you save the symbology as well. And another thing you can also do is change the symbology. So here I'll just click on change symbology. I'll go to options. And once this loads, I will be able to modify any of these shades that I would like. For example, since this is imagery, I would most likely just want the outline of the lake here. Let's see if it will load. It's funny, when I was testing it earlier, it was faster on ArcGIS Online and slower in Pro, so this is why I started in ArcGIS Online first.
Stretching your internet connection.
Yeah. Yeah, well, this is how it goes with demonstrations, right? Okay, so I think this is going to take a little bit more time, but I can show you the same functionality in Arc Pro. Let's see if that works any better. So now in Arc Pro, it functions very similarly to ArcGIS Online. If I go to my catalog, I go to my projects, I can add that service. Typically you would add the REST service as a ArcGIS service, and you can just copy it on there. But I already have it loaded, so I'll go ahead and hit cancel here. And so what you can, the one caveat and the biggest difference from Pro to ArcGIS Online is that in ArcGIS Online you can add the service all by itself, and it will load, and you'll be able to expand it and change your attribute, change your labeling as you'd like. But in Pro, if you add the service by itself, you don't get that functionality. Let's see here. Okay, I guess my internet's just really slow today. Let's see if ArcGIS Online worked any easier. Okay, here we go. But yeah, sorry to backtrack here, but you can change the symbology just as if the layer was hosted on your local machine. But since it's a service, it will, as soon as we update our service, your map will be updated as well. So that is the nice thing about having it as a service. Okay, let's see. Yep, and see, there you go. You can see the imagery, and you can symbolize it as you'd like. Now let's go back to Pro. Let's see if that worked any better. And you can, okay, and so I've added just a service by itself. And as you can see, I have access to these, but if I wanted to change it, I don't get that ribbon for changing symbology. So instead of adding the service by itself, you want to expand that service. And from here, we can add let me click these out. We can add these water body features, right? And so what we can do is we can add those to our map. And since we added the layer by itself, I will also add some flow lines, just so we get a good feel for the NHD here. And just like in ArcGIS Online, I can go in here and say I don't want a fill for that, and then I can click OK. And I get that outline just like I did in ArcGIS Online. Let's see. And the other thing is that, and I find in ArcPro, the symbology works a lot better. You know, we could label the maps, I'm sorry, the rivers to be larger or smaller, and you have more variety of font sizes, depending on what best suits your needs. And let's see if there's anything else I wanted to show. You can also carry out some very light analysis on these web features. So if we highlight, sorry, I'll just highlight some artificial lines here. And what we can do is go to our geoprocessing, and I'll just create a quick buffer on our flow lines that are selected. And let's make a, let's make it 100 feet buffer. And I hope this shows. And clear it and zoom into my selected features. And as you can see, it was able to create the buffer on just the selected features. And I think with that said, if there's any questions, we can go ahead and ask them.
Yeah, if anybody has questions, go ahead and find your name in the participant list, or turn off your unmute your microphone in the little pop-up bar for Teams. Or if you are having trouble with that, you can go into the chat and add your question there. So I'll read, there's from Ann Fritz, there's a question already there in chat. Are some standard USGS style layers out there that they can grab?
Oh yeah, so when you first load the service, it comes with the default symbols. And so you can load the service and not change anything, and you can utilize it that way. But you can also customize it if you want, in case for whatever reason you want. I'm sorry. For example, if you don't want artificial paths to show up, you can go in there and make those transparent so they don't show up on your map. But the service itself does come with standard symbology.
Hey, Sergio, I think you mentioned that you could do light analysis with the NHD services. What restrictions are there on the sort of analysis that you can do with that data?
Okay, it just really depends on the amount of data, right? Because what I find is if you're trying to do buffers on too many streams, it will bog down, and I've had it crash sometimes. So you just want to limit the amount of analysis. I haven't really tested it too much, but I know you can do some light buffering and analysis like that.
Okay, thanks.
Are you able to export a selection? I know you just showed using a buffer tool, but if you wanted to just export a selection to a local geodatabase, is that a possibility?
Okay, I actually have not tried, but when I've done it in the past, it hasn't worked. But I think there's been a couple of updates since. If y'all want, we can learn together if you want.
That's always fun.
Sure.
All right, let's see. Let me grab some artificial paths here, since these are the easiest to grab. So let's see here. Oh no, doesn't look like it. 'Cause typically I would just export it from here.
Okay. What about
yeah.
using the select tool? Is that a possibility? Will it let you do that?
Oh, do you mean like selecting it and?
No, if you click back on the arrow where in the geoprocessing window and then do a search for select.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, select analysis. I'm curious if that would.
Okay, yeah, let's see. And then I think this will just do the entire.
Oh, it won't work on your selection?
Oh, yeah, you're right. Sorry.
I think it will.
It might take a little bit of time. Oh, sorry. There was one thing I did forget. I forgot to mention that. Well, I won't do it on that one since we're running analysis. But let's say, for example, you only wanted to show the lake here. I could go in here and in ArcPro go into a definition query, and I can. Let me see if it will go through. I think if I can query if I just want to show just one feature. I might be asking too much of my computer here, but you can query the service as well in case you don't want it to be bogged down trying to symbolize everything, the entirety of NHD or whatever layer you're working with. The only thing with this is I find that if you do multiple queries, it doesn't really like multiple queries. So you typically, if I just do one, it works best. I'm not sure if this is going to work, but are there any other questions while we wait? Oh, okay, there we go.
Yeah, there you go. That's the way I usually roll. I break things. So you're welcome.
Yeah, no problem. Well, at least we know it can't be done.
Yeah, so I've got a question, and I don't know. I don't actually know the answer to this. Have you guys experimented any with feature services, which would, in theory, give you a little more flexibility and power than what you were just showing?
Yeah, I actually have not had a chance to work with those. I've mostly been focusing on this new this new feature for our web service. Yeah,
it's a good challenge. It's a good challenge for us, Al, to go see what we can do with the web feature services we have. We have one for WBD, but not for NHD yet.
Any other questions from on? I do have a couple of announcements. So if we are done with the questions, I'd just really like to thank Rob and Sergio for their presentation today. I think it's really good, really interesting. I learned some things. And I have a couple of other announcements. One is that we are not quite there yet, but expect to see some changes to our mailing list and the way that you are subscribed to get these calendar invitations for this meeting and for our newsletter. We're experimenting with setting up a listserv, which hopefully will let you, kind of manage your subscription to the advisory call and the newsletter on your own without sending us emails. So we will hopefully be transitioning to that soon. So stay tuned. What we'll do is we'll import our current list into that when we start it. And so you won't really have to do anything if you want to stay subscribed. But then later, if you want to unsubscribe or want to share it with someone else, you'd be able to just give them a link to the listserv. So look for more information about that in our newsletter pretty soon. Let's see. Okay, there was a question here. Could you provide the link to the site where the recording will be posted? Yes, it's on our YouTube channel.
Al, I added the link in the chat above, but I can repaste it because I'm sure it made its way up away.
Okay, yeah, if you
I'll
could
do
do
that
that.
right now.
Yeah,
Sure.
Thanks a lot, Vanessa.
Sure.
Okay, and the other announcement that I had is that we just got word as we were on this call that we have finished posting the last of the Great Lakes NHD Plus high-res beta datasets. So they are out now, and we are complete for all of CONUS, plus Hawaii, Puerto Rico, and some of the territories, and then of course some of Alaska. So big milestone that we just hit today. Really happy to be able to announce that just now. So
That's great news, Al.
Yippee!
A lot of work.
Yeah, it's been about 5 years coming. So that's great news. All right, well, I think we are done for today. Our next